Welcome to Wave Wasters, I'm Matt, and today I'm going to build this resaw jig for my bandsaw. Recently I made a set of patterned plywood fins, and I used a resaw jig on my bandsaw to slice out the fin blanks. But as you can see on this fin blank I made, it starts a little over 1/4 inch thick and then goes down to 1/8 of an inch. And the problem I had with my jig was when I would slide the patterned plywood over to the blade and set the depth of my cut, it wouldn't move the wood perfectly perpendicular. It would kind of twist it a little bit. So then I was slicing angles instead of like nice parallel cuts. So what I'm going to do today is make a new resaw jig, and I'm going to use an old camera slider that will allow me to move lumber perfectly perpendicular to the bandsaw blade. And then I'm going to use a piece of metal that is the same width as the mitre track on the bandsaw, and that'll allow me to push the wood perfectly parallel to the blade. So then I should be able to get really accurate, really smooth resaw cuts on the bandsaw, and that's going to make it a lot easier to make some more of these patterned plywood fins and just some more intricate fin designs. So let's jump into it. First thing I'm going to do is mark out where the slider is going on the base, and for the base I'm using some scrap particle board, but plywood would be a better option if you have some. I am also going to mark out a line perpendicular to the slider for the metal bar. This line is going to be a little bit less than the distance between the mitre slot and the bandsaw blade. I'm going to draw one more line perpendicular. This will be so I can add another slider to the end of the base. Next, I'm going to measure and cut some angled aluminum to the length of the jig. This is going to be used to hold the wasteboard for attaching the wood that's being resawn. I'm also going to measure and cut the width of the jig on some channeled metal to create a slider for the other end of the jig. This will help keep the wood from sliding on an angle when adjusting the width of the cut. To create the second slider, I'm also going to cut a metal pipe. This will go between the two channels. Because I am using a camera slider, I need to take it apart and add some mounting holes. While I'm drilling these holes, I'll also add some in the metal channel. To attach the arm to the two sliders, I need to cut some small pieces of wood, and I'm going to cut these out of a 2x3. Now that I have all the parts I need, I'm going to assemble the jig. Starting with the bottom, I'm going to attach the bar for the mitre slot, so then I can flip the base over and add the sliders. For the wasteboard, I used a bit of MDF. This will give me a good surface to mount thin boards using double-sided tape, or I can screw into logs and thicker pieces of wood from the other side. I have a piece of maple from a tree that fell in the yard, and I'm going to use this to test the jig. And to hold the log to the wasteboard, I'm just going to screw into it from the other side. This jig is so much more accurate than the last one I was using. I was able to resaw this maple, and from end to end, it's within 0.5 millimeter of difference between the two ends, which is so much more accurate than what I was doing before. It means I'm going to be wasting a lot less wood slicing out fin panels, and it's going to be a lot faster to get them to the final thickness and to get them perfectly flat. This jig will also allow me to do some more pattern plywood fins, as well as being able to mill my own lumber. So I'll be able to find like just different random pieces of wood, and I'll be able to resaw them into usable fin panels really easily. I hope this video is helpful if you're making a resaw jig for your bandsaw, but if you're here for the surf related content, don't worry, I have a bunch more fin videos coming, and I'm working on 2 boards, so be sure to stay tuned for those, and I'll see you in the next one.